Coming off Astrobot's win at the Game Awards this year, that got me thinking about last year's awards ceremony, which managed to award maybe 5 awards in the middle of Jeff Keighley's 4-hour love sonnet to Hideo Kojima entitled, "I'll be your footrest, please just like me." I assumed this year was largely the same, but I had less interest in tuning in. Once you see one 4-hour love sonnet, you've seen them all. Anyway, last year this little game called Baldur's Gate 3 won a bunch of awards and got my D&D group going, "Oh damn!" And a bunch of them immediately plowed through like 4 runs each. Good run, Dark Urge run, co-op run where you're only allowed to damage enemies by turning into a wheel of cheese and gently nudging them off cliffs. I am just now getting started on my first run. This tends to happen to me with big titles, and while big life events are at least partially to blame, this was inevitable for me, and it's not the first time it's happened. On paper, Baldur's Gate 3 is 100% my jam. A dense, quest-packed RPG with customization, characters, and detail around every corner. I played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 ad nauseum in middle and high school, right alongside Arcanum of Steamworks and Magicka Obscura. I want to be slathered in lore and deep-fried in ridiculous armor choices. So why this year-long block when it came to an RPG that I knew was going to be my jam, and by all signs is scratching that itch for me so far? I think there's a few factors at play here, one of which is Vampire Survivors happened, and enough has been written or recorded on its addictive qualities that I don't know that I'd add anything to that conversation other than a loud, "Peppino, best boy, come at me!" It all boils down to one simple truth. I got intimidated. Before I go any further, let me clarify something here. I am not criticizing Larian Studios' work here at all. Yes, I found the game intimidating, in the way that one might find it intimidating if someone put a triple-decker chocolate cake in front of you with a tiny spoon and said, "That's all for you, buddy." Too much of a good thing can and has been levied as criticism before, but that's not the case here. It's just a case of going, "Ooh boy, that's a lot of game." RPG indigestion is a real risk, and there's no Pepto-Bismol for that shit. I guess another factor of intimidation is what I like to call quest paralysis. Think choice paralysis, but for quests specifically. Again, this is not unique to Baldur's Gate 3. Happened to me with the first 2 Baldur's Gate, with Arcanum, with Witcher 3, with Skyrim, with Yakuza Like a Dragon, with a lot of RPGs, really. There's just this want to get it right as I play through, and the fear that if I mess something up, or do a quest too late, or if I've somehow knocked off the flow of quests, I'll be sent to fake fan jail where the walls will be painted with angry text blocks that say, "Quest failed, you fucking moron!" Nothing but time and letting the spirit of adventure overcome the specter of quest shame like the light of dawn fixes this. By my estimation, my eventual completion of Yakuza Like a Dragon had 2 3-month breaks in the middle of it. Witcher 3 was something like 5 months, and Skyrim... Okay, I've already talked about my ongoing problem with finishing games. We don't need to go down that road again. So surely that's it, right? A little bit of uh-oh big, a little bit of quest paralysis. Give it a rest and just start shouting, "The Blade of Frontiers" already, you dingus. But wait, there's more. This next point won't take long. You're talking to a guy who filled up his Soul Calibur 5 and 6 Create-A-Soul slots, then created new profiles just to make more Create-A-Souls. We don't need to talk about how much time I spent in the Baldur's Gate 3 character creator before actually starting the game. Hardest part of the game by far. But there is one more intimidation factor, and I've intentionally buried the lead. It's the title one that I've led up to. I'm not the one to come up with the concept of nerd homework. It's been bandied around the internet probably since the dawn of the internet. I think it's best described in an episode of Dropout's Actually, where John Gabris and Mike Trapp bemoan slogging through the Wheel of Time book series, or in Trapp's case, not starting it at all. I'll link the full clip in the description, but to paraphrase Trapp here, I haven't started them because I know, even though it's like this iconic fantasy series, it feels like nerd homework. Having slogged my way through Wheel of Time, boy do I feel that. But this form of nerd homework doesn't quite fit the bill for this video essay. I wouldn't have to read through 2,800 pages to get to the good part with Baldur's Gate 3, and can confirm, having actually started the game now, that yes, it has the ability to hook you from minute 1 once you get through the mega hard optional dungeon called actually picking a fucking character. This game is my jam. I know it's my jam, but the fact that almost unanimously the entire populace of fantasy nerd culture was like, dude, you gotta try this. Karlach is like a golden retriever, except she smashes the hell out of bad guys, somehow warded me off. Somehow Baldur's Gate 3 became nerd homework, and that's where the intimidation factor came in. There's a noted behavior of ADHD that goes by a few names: avoidance procrastination, demand avoidance, even just ADHD procrastination. Quoting an article by Dr. Sharon Saline here for a second. You convince yourself to avoid a dreaded task, but feel terrible for skirting it. The guilt is real, but you can't stop repeating the same behaviors. This vicious cycle is called avoidance procrastination and is common in individuals with attention deficit hyperactive disorder. It's not that the task is actually terrible, you just have an incredibly distorted perception of its difficulty or unpleasantness. Avoidance procrastination, or procrastivity, paralyzes you with dread and fear of several things: embarrassment, failure, discomfort, disappointing yourself or others, etc. Dr. Saling goes on to describe what she calls the not-now brains of those with ADHD. Because the now moment feels terrible and endless, it's tough to imagine that things will feel better once you finish a hated task. Often it's problematic to start a task because it seems too big, and that bigness feels unpleasant or overwhelming. This could be due to the cognitive elements, energy required, or emotional weight of the dreaded task. Perhaps you say things to yourself like, "This is too complicated for me to accomplish. I'm too tired to take this on right now," or, "If I don't do this right, something terrible will happen." Well, Dr. Saline, on the less than 1% chance you happen to see this, I regret to inform you that this isn't just for hated tasks either. Sometimes when it's an enjoyable task that literally your own friends are telling you is great out of love, and you know they're making that recommendation because they know and share your interests, it can still trigger. Edgar Allan Poe describes in the short story The Imp of the Perverse a spirit that convinces us to do the thing because we should not do that thing. Indeed, the temptation to do bad stuff can happen specifically because society tells you not to do them. I'm not saying it's reasonable or logical, but somehow my brain did the exact opposite of that. Oh, everyone is telling me to do this cool thing, so fuck it, I'm not gonna do it. I don't care that everyone is watching White Lotus, I'm not going to. I promise this isn't me being some RPG or nerd culture hipster. Like I said, there wasn't really any internal logic to it, other than my ADHD brain going, yeah, and concocting reasons not to just do the thing I wanted to. I just finished Final Fantasy XVI. I need some lighter fare, turned hollower and hollower as over the course of the year, I played everything from Chants of Sonar to another entire-ass RPG. Surely One Piece Odyssey will be done in like 15 hours flat. It's light fare and, goddammit, I just put 60 hours into it. Okay, just one more small game became I'll buy 4 games on PSN and play those instead. Okay, now I'm ready to play Baldur's Gate. Just kidding, time to put 100+ hours into Vampire Survivors and Ode to Castlevania because gems go brrr, and holy shit, this game was literally designed by someone formerly in the gambling industry to be addictive as hell. Fuck! I do have to point out that the media environment we live in did contribute to this somewhat. I'm not blaming society here, but for a neurodivergent brain seeking reasons to go, I don't want to do that. No, no, no. How media is produced and consumed gave me both another factor that fueled the fire and another excuse to not charge forward. The RPG backlog is real right now, y'all. Behind Baldur's Gate 3 in no particular order, Yakuza Infinite Wealth, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Eiyuden Chronicles, and the latest, Dragon Age Veilguard, where again, my friend and I have only been talking about punching Solus square in his big dumb face for a literal decade. As described above, the tasks mounting you'd think would be incentive to finish some of these gaming projects, but that's when the ADHD pulls the Uno reverse card and turns them into mounting reasons to not do any of them. And then there was just this pervasiveness of Baldur's Gate 3 content available online. You could not escape it. Unfortunately, being able to look up little moments here and there just gave the put-it-offness morsels to justify itself. Oh, well, I can just watch this YouTube short of Astarion saying, "Ugh, it'll take hours to kill them all," laugh and move on. Surely that's exactly the same as finally playing a video game you're looking forward to. Add in a major move between states, and poor Shadowheart just never had a chance to play Keep Away with that plot MacGuffin in this calendar year. It literally started getting comical, the reasons I was concocting, but as described above, the now became the specter of darkness that only FOMO and the bad brain literally telling me my friends would never talk to me again if I didn't play Baldur's Gate 3 to overcome it. Basically, it's like getting a bigger bully to beat up your bully. It literally took the fear of being left behind by my friends for not being enough of a nerd to defeat the ADHD avoidance in this case. So in the end, nerd homework defeated nerd homework. Sure, I'm playing the game, but I can't help but feel like Luke going into the cave in Dagobah, decapitating Dream Vader, only to have the mask turn around, explode, and oh fuck, it's my face. But looking back at this moment, I know I've got to give myself some grace. And I think I've at least given myself perspective by looking back at how I've played games before. I've never been one to just speed through content. I want to take my time. I want to soak up every ray of the adventure. I used to be okay with being behind the curve when I was a kid. Right. When I was a kid. It's a lot easier to put aside the time for all these dense RPG adventures when you don't have a job, a marriage, pets, a mortgage, and all these other factors that demand our time so we can eat, live, and survive. I'm really not being fair when I judge myself by the same metric I had when my biggest concerns were what I was going to do with my summer vacation. At the same time, this media landscape has evolved at a breakneck pace. There's so much stuff coming out so fast before fading into the background as fast as it came out, and no one person can stay on top of all of it. You do have to pick and choose, and trying to consume all the media all at once is a recipe for disaster. I'm also reminding myself that we're all discovering things at different rates, sharing and swapping notes at different paces, and there shouldn't be one master way to play. The answer, ironically, is mirrored in Baldur's Gate 3, where there's literally so many choices, classes, spells, and other factors that no one is going to have a carbon copy of another's experience. And you know what? That's beautiful. So for this intrepid adventurer finally taking his tiefling monk at Loddle on the grandest adventure of her life, his path required a few stops along the way before the adventure's beginning. I guess for any successful RPG protagonist, the player needs a backstory as much as the character does. And now I get to play and share my experiences with my friends as I do so. I haven't missed that chance, no matter what my brain tries to tell me. Watch out, Baldur's Gate. For the third time, I'm coming your way. And no, I don't know who I'm going to romance yet. All in due time.